The whole SAT prep industry runs on one assumption. If you want to raise your score, you need to study more. But for students that are already hitting like a 1200 or even like a 1300 or above, that's almost always wrong. Because at that level, you're not losing points because of a knowledge gap. You're losing points because you might misread a question. You might fall for a trap answer. You could forget a minus somewhere between line 2 and 3. You could not manage your time well enough. And as you can see, none of these are really knowledge or knowing the material problems, and studying more won't fix them. And that means that most students staying stuck aren't stuck because they're not smart enough or even because they're not working hard enough. They've just been misdiagnosed, whether it's by their tutor, by their program, or even by themselves. And until someone actually finds the root cause as to why they're losing points, every hour of prep will not move the score because it's going towards the wrong thing. And we've mapped those 8 after years of working with more than 800 students and analyzing their tests question by question and tracing every single wrong answer back to the reason why it happened, and it all came back to the same 8 root causes. And while the entire test prep industry is only built on fixing one of those, there's actually 7 that are left out completely untouched that keep stealing your points. And the worst part is that most of these never show up on your diagnostics, and that's why we've built our own assessment that breaks everything down to the subtopics, sub-subtopics, and even question types so that we can actually accurately diagnose what's going on. So in this video, I'm going to break down all 8 of those and exactly how you can spot them. But if you'd like to take the assessment completely for free, then there is a link in the description of this video where you can apply. So the first leak is going to be content gaps. This is when you genuinely don't have the proper knowledge to solve the problem. Now, this is exactly what most tutoring services, programs, and Khan Academy are built for. And it's great to get you up until like a 1200 or even a 1300. But past that point, again, you don't have knowledge problems anymore. And this one is pretty simple to spot. You get to a question and you just don't know what to do. That's pretty much it. And then in order to fix that, what you have to do is you have to learn that concept. And then from there on out, that problem should be solved unless you forget it. The second leak is going to be the setup. That means that you understood the question exactly like it is, but you still built a wrong relationship and you set it up the wrong way. An example here would be 5 less than twice a number becomes 5 minus 2n instead of 2n minus 5. You probably have the knowledge to solve it and you can solve it correctly, but the translation from the question to the method was wrong, and now you're dealing with the wrong numbers. So the way you solve that, you have to think about how you were actually answering the question and what process did you go through. And if the first line in the process is wrong, then obviously you just didn't build a right relationship with the question, and then everything else got lost. The next leak is going to be misreading. You could misread least as most, and then again everything else after that is set up to fail. And on a test that is built from dense and very careful sentences, a single misread can cost you a lot of points. So the way we fix this is we isolate the misreading pattern. We figure out exactly what words and question types typically trip them up, and then we drill those until it doesn't happen again. The next one is trap answers. Now, the College Board loves to write answers that look like the right answer and they make a lot of sense, but they're just deliberately there to trip you up. You see, each one is specifically engineered to catch either a specific misread or a calculation that skipped the last step, or an answer that is true but doesn't answer what the original question was asking. Now, this usually looks like the student being very, very confident that they actually got the right answer, but then when you get the results back, it's obviously not that. And the way you fix that is you want to isolate the 2 or 3 trap types that consistently trip you up and then drill those exact patterns until the instinct stops. For example, Amy was doing everything right. She was doing Khan Academy, a prep course, even additional practice tests on her own. But her score just didn't move past a 1260. And after all those nights of constant studying and working really, really hard and seeing no results, her whole family was starting to wonder if, this was kind of her limit, and if they can't even break past that, and if it was even worth it to keep pushing. So we ran our full audit and figured out that Amy didn't really need more content. She was just always missing points on a few question types that nobody taught her how to read, and running out of time on sections that she should have really finished earlier. So we stopped all random practice and built a specific plan only covering these gaps. And then we ran timed, proctored simulations of the real SAT until she got used to it. And then 10 weeks later, she scored a 1510. And then then there was Chris, who was stuck at a 1330. He tried multiple other tutors before. And I'm talking pretty good tutors, but yet his score still only nudged from like the 1300s to the mid 1300s. And his dad wasn't really looking for someone that could teach his son algebra. He wanted to figure out why was a student that had a really good GPA stuck at a 1330 across 3 different tutors, and why he couldn't break to a 1500. And our audit quickly showed that Chris wasn't really struggling everywhere. In fact, most of the test he was doing really well. And that's why what they've tried so far didn't help, because most of it was actually fine. He was only losing points on a small specific set of question types, and he was running out of time on the second math module. So that is the only thing we worked on, and we drilled it until it actually stuck with him. And then lastly, we pressure tested it with full proctored practice exams. And after that, he was able to score a 1520 and secure a merit scholarship that the 1300 wouldn't really have gotten him. The next root cause is execution slips. So that means that they understood the question correctly, they set it up right, and the process was also pretty good. So they should have ended at the right answer, but somewhere between line 2 or 3 or 4, they forgot a minus, or a 7 got copied over as a 1, or a 3 as an 8. So this usually looks like you read the question right, you did all the right things, but still the answer is wrong. And you really have to be very diligent and look at the small things, right? What did you copy over incorrectly? Or what did you forget to copy over? Or did you add something you shouldn't have added? These are very small details that can trip you up. So the way you fix that is you always need to double check your whole process and make sure that you didn't slip up anywhere. And you need a pretty fast method to do that so that it doesn't cost you a lot of time, because the next root cause is going to be time, whether that's running out of time or having too much time, which means you rush through the test. So there's a couple of things that can go wrong when it comes to time. You could again be doing everything correctly, but be doing it the slow way. For example, if you don't know how to use Desmos and you need to do everything by hand, that is a very, very big timing mistake. Or on the other hand, you could over-invest into a question that you don't know how to solve, and then it eats up time from the rest of the section. The way you fix that is you need to master pacing, meaning you need to go through questions at the right speed. And obviously you also need to master content, because if you don't know a question, then you're gonna spend way too much time trying to figure it out. And that's exactly what Owen was struggling with. If you sit him down without any time pressure, he could solve anything, and he knew all the content, he knew all the test taking strategies, absolutely everything. But as soon as he got to the actual SAT and there was time pressure, everything fell apart. Now everybody just kept telling him, you need to practice more, you'll get used to it. But more practice wasn't solving it, because it wasn't a content problem. He already knew everything. The moment the clock started, he would burn 4 minutes on one hard question, rush around, panic about the time, and then underperform on the exact same things that he was doing well on at home. Our audit quickly pinpointed that it was just pacing. So we drilled the order of operations, which questions to tackle first, when to move on, how to bank the easy points before you get to the hard questions. And then we ran timed and proctored simulation of the real test. And then he was able to score a 1490, which is a 250 point jump, and he didn't have to learn any new content. It all came from finally being able to use the content that he already knew. The next leak is going to be nerves. Now, while you can know all the content and the material at the comfort of your own home, once you step into the room and once you start actually taking the real test, it can get to a lot of students, and then they can start panicking. They can have a head full of noise, and even though they know what they should be doing, they're staring at a problem that they used to know how to solve at home, but they suddenly can't solve it anymore. Now, this is usually caused by a adrenaline or a cortisol spike, and these are errors of pressure, not necessarily content or material. And no, you just telling them to relax isn't gonna fix anything. What actually fixes it is exposing them to this exact type of environment, and then their body is naturally gonna get used to it and react less and less and less until there's absolutely no reaction left and they're completely calm and confident. And lastly, there's fatigue. So as we know, the SAT is more than 2 hours long, so you could be doing everything right in the beginning, but then, you know, after the 1 hour mark, or maybe 1 hour and 30 minutes mark, you start getting tired, you start making sloppy mistakes. And while you technically still have all the knowledge and the content, you just can't apply it because you're too tired and your brain doesn't have enough energy to actually apply all of that. And the way you fix that is full length, same format as the real SAT, proctored practice exam. So that again, they get used to the marathon and they're not just doing small sprints of like 10 minutes or 20 minutes of practice questions. They need the full duration at one time. So these are the 8 leaks. And this isn't just some theory on a whiteboard. This is based off of real data out of hundreds of practice tests from the 800 plus students that we've helped so far. We've analyzed every single question that they've ever submitted to us or to our platform. And the same 8 causes kept showing up almost every single time on every single question. So if you're gonna take one thing from this video, it's that when a capable student that's already having a decent score is stuck, it's usually not content and they don't need to study more. It's that nobody figured out where they're actually leaking points. And as you know, most of these will never show up on a simple diagnostic. And this is exactly why we've built the audit. Your team is gonna take a full format SAT, all 98 questions, and then we trace every single wrong answer back to its root cause, down to the subtopics and the question types. So everything that you've just learned in this video is gonna be on one page, all summarized, exactly where they're losing points, how many points they're losing, why they're losing them, and most importantly, how to actually fix that. So you can just click the link below this video if you wanna apply completely for free.